One day you'll be on time, TJ.
One day you'll be on my level.
It's not even.
Oh, hey, there we are. We're live.
Oh, now we're live.
True.
One day. All right. Hey, guys. Sorry about that. Tony just was like kicking and screaming and not have, us do this to him on the show. So he did everything he could to pull the plug. He got the Lippert, tech guys involved in this, but me and Will figured it out. Me and Will figured it out. So, and Carly too as well. I'll introduce Carly here first, but hey, first thing is got to talk a little bit about our sponsors. Asked them to send something over. Didn't get a ton, but hey, everybody knows them. Truck Park. It's got an app, 24/7 access. You can book a spot real time. He's got a lot of Anthony Pettit's got a lot of stuff he's going to roll out for it. It's going to be awesome. We're actually sponsored by Landstar. But oh wait, hang on a second. No, we're not. The dispatcher told me it was Landstar, but it was actually a separate company. It goes under a different name. They didn't tell me that much. So yeah, Truck Park, great. Check it out. Cypress 21. Nick Rumor is literally just keeping this kind of a rumor. Not a ton of details on it yet, but it's fuel alternative with additives and stuff to make everything healthier, which hopefully works. Just kidding, we know it's going to work. It's going to be great. So keep an eye on those two guys. Good companies, good people, and that's what we're all about here. So
it does. Go check out their website. They have the science. It's really cool. I checked it out because Nick is cool.
Yeah, Nick's been, I always call him fifth wheel. He's always been right with us, ever since the beginning. So a lot of people have come and gone, and most still are still here, but he's been here from the beginning. So we got Carly with us tonight, who is the director of supply chain and setting up new carriers for Lippert components, correct?
Yeah, okay.
If you want to move freight for them, you got to get a hold of Carly, right? Oh God. No. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Carly. What you do, what your title is, and how you fit in with Tony.
Yeah, so I work with Tony. So I'm our transportation safety manager at Lippert. So I oversee everything from risk to compliance to accidents to dealing with any encounters with DOT and things like that. So Tony is awesome. So great things to say about him. So I'm really excited to be here and dig into this with you guys.
Yeah. Does Jason know you're on?
No, he does not, I don't think. But he probably soon will if I put it on LinkedIn. So I'm kind of new to the LinkedIn world, just to let you know. So I'm trying to figure out how it all works.
Just dive in. Start tagging Tony in your posts and you'll go big time. That's what it's all about. But hey, today we're talking a little bit about, it was always interesting to me. And Will, you're out calling shippers, I'm customer routed, or I got a private fleet. And, I always knew that was an obstacle. I never knew what it was back in the day, until you start learning about it. But it is pretty interesting in how it's all put together, because there's a lot more to it than just, having a fleet. So you just look at the dynamics. I mean, again, we always talk about just understanding the full supply chain and how it works, right? If Tony's a manufacturer of RV parts, and he's smack dab in the middle of the RV manufacturing capital of the world, then he doesn't need to go over the road, right? He's shipping parts down the road, right? Or just across the city, whatever it is. So, at that point in time, it's a lot more efficient than to buy your own trucks, get some day cabs, maybe a couple connies, and run local. So, talk to us, Tony, a little bit about how that works, kind of the dynamics of it, and what goes into it, because I know it takes a lot more than from your job, from instead of having somebody else handle it like a kit. So usually you push the freight off, the carrier or the broker would handle it. You're kind of doing that with the drivers now, right? On top of making sure production freight's where it is.
Absolutely. I have the hashtag handle it t-shirt. It's right here. I can't show you, but that's what it is. I mean, when I was at the steel company, we relied heavily on outside carriers because the steel was going all over the place. But when 80% of RVs are made in a 3-county region, we're in the middle of that. I have almost zero need for any outside carrier help. Now, not every plant is like that, and I'm not every plant, but at my plant, I've told everybody I don't have freight because I don't have any freight. But running a fleet, I mean, I'm almost a carrier more than a shipper, but we're shipping on our fleet to our customers in our town. And Carly makes sure that I'm doing that well.
Yeah, because there's more to it than just, I mean, you really look at like just from a carrier's perspective. I mean, like all the, you know, having a safety department, having all this stuff and making sure your dispatchers are aware and everything. I mean, you don't have dispatchers, do you?
No,
So it's you.
no. Well, we have like, I have commodity leads, our shipping leads, like we ship at the plant that I'm in, we have 7 different unique commodities that go out to the OEMs. And then we have some aftermarket stuff that's a drop trailer in our yard that we load overnight, and they go out to aftermarket world. But to the OEMs that are in town and right in the local area, basically all we do with that is load our trucks. Our commodity leads run a schedule off of our production of what's due that day, and they make a plan and they plan their trucks. And we have, I think at our plant, we have like 25 trucks, 22 trucks, something like that. Somewhere right in that neighborhood. We have some, we have more trailers than trucks, so I don't have that exact number at any given point, but we rotate trucks, and then the guys will come back, drop a trailer with empty racks, hook a loaded truck, go back and make another delivery. The next guy comes in. By that time, the trailer with the empty racks has been unloaded and reloaded. They'll grab that. We run flatbed, step decks, curtain sides, Conestogas, and dry vans. The only thing we're not running is walking floor, tanker, and reefers at our plant. That's just about everything else, though.
So what? How are these drivers paid? I mean, how do they come on board? I mean, what's the whole?
Okay, so we have a whole onboarding process and training procedures and getting to know us and our commodities and our customers, and we ride along for a couple of weeks. I don't care if you're 2 years or 20 years experience. Everybody rides along for 2 weeks and gets the experience of what we do, who we do it with, and how we do it. Our drivers are paid hourly. I know when I was driving, it was mileage and drops, and hourly after 2 hours detention, then we would get an hourly rate. But our guys punch in and they're paid until they punch out. And most of them work about a 10-hour day. It's really a great job. I mean, when I was on the road, I would have loved to have this job, especially, you know, I mean, I would have loved to work for me back then. I try to be the guy that they want to work for. You know, I would try to be the guy that's in the department that runs it in a way that if I was still the driver, I would still want to work there. I want to make it to a place where they want to work and tell their friends they're proud to be.
Shipper of choice?
Shipper of choice.
Are you?
No, we're working on it though. We've got a lot of room to grow. That's why I'm there.
But you can be.
We can be. We've got some steps. We're taking steps in the right direction. We're moving the needle for sure. We're developing some processes and procedures where there was a whole bunch of tribal knowledge before. And, you know, that's the challenge. Here we are trying to take steps in the right direction every day and grow to be better, grow to be stronger, put in place some safety items. We meet every second Monday of the month at 5 a.m. in the office, and we have this big room, and we just all sit and we talk about what we're doing, how we recognize and celebrate our wins with each other. I got to come up with some more stuff to measure so that we can celebrate more wins. You know, I mean, you can't really give safe mileage awards to guys that don't ever leave. Yeah, they expanded the 100 air mile radius to 150, but that didn't change anything for us. We don't ever go that far anyway. But we try to give recognition to the guys that are, you know. So I have. Man, I'm like a squirrel. I'm going all over the place. So we have some admin help, and we try and keep track of all kinds of stuff and log it and measure it so that we can celebrate the wins. We can find our outliers. We can see who's doing what, and then maybe that, you know, instead of trying to correct somebody on the bottom end, we're really seeing what somebody on the top end is doing. Some of the high producers, and see what they're doing different than the other guys. How can we duplicate that? How can we take your strategy and apply it to the other 20 people and make them up to that level too? So it's a lot of data. It's a lot of tracking. We have a camera system that we use, and I guess they had one system before I was there, and right when I got there, we had switched vendors to a different system, and the one that they'd switched away from was the one that I'm familiar with, and the one that we use now is not incredibly familiar to me. I'm still learning that one, but it has really saved our butts a couple of times. We've had, incidences where there's harsh braking or a deer runs out. I had a guy hit a deer. We got it all on video. We had a guy avoid hitting a deer because he was alert and paying it. It was dark and a 2-lane highway in the middle of nowhere, northern Indiana. And, we get to celebrate those wins, and those guys, everybody says they don't want the camera and that's a deal breaker. And man, if I'm a driver at this day and age, I don't want to drive a truck that doesn't have a camera. Now I want to know, I want to prove, I know I'm good enough as a driver that I want that camera to back up what I say happened. So I love the cameras. The guys, after, nobody wants them. And then when they get bailed out by it, somebody comes across the center line and, there's a side swipe and they try and blame you or something. We had a guy, I called Carly on the way to this one. I had a guy on a 2-lane road trying to turn right onto another 2-lane road with a full step deck trailer, and somebody tried to pass him on the right while he was making the turn. He had to swing out and go around to make the right turn. And of course, she got into the trailer, and it was a really minor fender bender accident. It broke, it took the young lady's car, her driver's side mirror, and broke her window with it. And that's really about the only extent of the damage. Mirror and a window and a windshield and a dent on the A-pillar. But because we had a witness in the cameras, we were able to show no fault. And it was really, the guy was like, go back and look at the video. It was awesome to see. As soon as these guys see that video is there for their benefit, they love them. They love the cameras. So that's a huge bonus that we have. It turns a lot of people off with the idea of a camera, but you're not living in the truck. There's no sleepers. We're not filming you. No one's watching you. You can sing along to the radio.
If you're getting emotional about this, Tony, you can take a break.
It is.
I don't know how deep this goes for you, buddy.
I really like the cameras.
But just
Tony.
next time we want to get a driver on, just have him turn the camera towards him and get him on the show.
Yeah, right. They're all home.
Carly, how do you fit in this equation?
Yeah, so a little bit of everything. So, if it's in regards to accidents, I do full investigations on that. Anything that would be a DOT recordable accident, that's all the stuff that I dive into heavily. Same to what you said, Tony. If I were a driver, I 100% would have a dash cam, even if my company didn't require it, just for my own protection, because I see more often than not, those are saving drivers. A car goes in front of the semi, slams on their brakes, and our driver, potentially rear ends them, but that video shows what that car did by starting that accident. So, you touched on a little bit what it takes to be onboarded as a driver, and it's definitely a little bit of a tedious process, right? So initially you have to check their MVR, their driving record. Then they have to go for their medical certificate. They potentially, CDLs have to go for a drug test. You have to have the drug and alcohol program in place. So there's a lot of steps that go into that onboarding process, training and things like that. So that's kind of where I fit in, a little piece of every puzzle with that. And then I oversee the operations of that.
And how long have you been there at Lippert?
So I actually came from the same place Tony did. And so I've only been at Lippert, I think I just hit my 1-year mark. So.
And how many changes have you had to make? Or even not even just changes, maybe new implementations or processes?
Oh my goodness, it's ever changing. It's constantly changing. So if you're not, I would say you're falling behind a little bit, right? So, it's been everything, like making sure we can get MVRs faster was a big one for me. So when I initially started, it took us 2 to 3 day, turnaround to get a driving record. And to me, that was like, that's not acceptable. Worst case scenario, that's how my mind has to operate at all times. And worst case scenario, if I need another MVR pulled, I need that instant. So, constantly looking at the systems we have in place and making sure that we're improving them, getting it more efficient and helping out the operations, right? So we want to make sure that we're not a speed bump or an obstacle in place for that ops team that's moving the freight.
Yeah, that's what you find. One thing about, you know, the asset division here even was my biggest thing was having that flow, having that everybody on the same page, because you find that, you know, that safety will push back a little bit, right? Then operations push back, then recruiting isn't involved, and then it's just not a good mix, you know, for just overall efficiency.
Hey, Carly, can you speak to some of the things that we're doing for drivers, just off the top of your head? Not that you don't have to share any of the juicy details that we're getting into that are still in the works, but like in our market locally anyway, I mean, the market is what the market is, and like pulling the MVR, I mean, if that takes 2 or 3 days, that guy's employed by then somewhere else down the street making the same money.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't want to steal the spotlight here too much. So if I talk too much, just cut me off. But
You're the guest.
so, you know, like the original reason I got into transportation was kind of like a lot of people I talked to. I kind of fell into it, right? And I fell into the right spot. So I kind of grew up in a blue collar family, come from, you know, blue collar lifestyle. And I realized so much growing up that way that, you know, with the way my parents raised me, there were a lot of people in that blue collar industry that needed a voice for them, and they needed someone to help them, to go to bat for them. And when I started working with drivers, I was like, oh my goodness, they're so undervalued just altogether, in my opinion. So I was really passionate about that. You know, I didn't want to leave. You know, I went and got a bachelor's degree and master's and all that, but I didn't want to leave and go to white collar and industry. And you know, just working with drivers, they're phenomenal people. Like they come from all different, you know, walks of life, and they're just good people. So I found, you know, to be really passionate about that. And in my current role, as to Tony's point there, we want to show those drivers we care about them, we need them, and that they matter to us. So right now we're doing as much as we possibly can to show our drivers that we appreciate them. We're taking their feedback to the highest level, right? So we're putting them in front of the biggest leaders at the company. Tell us what you're seeing, all honesty. Like, we want to help you. How can we get better together? And really pushing that initiative of genuinely caring about them, and not just saying, hey, yeah, we care about you, here's a mug, you know. And that's one of Tony's favorite lines, so sorry Tony for stealing that, but we want to take it further. We want to genuinely start caring about our drivers at the best level. And, you know, every day they have more interactions with our customers than almost any of our salespeople. So it's huge. I mean, the relationships that we have with our drivers and that they have with our customers, it's a big deal to us.
Yep. Yeah, there's a difference, I think, when you look at a local fleet who's seeing the same people every day, get to know those people. I mean, compared to the over the road drivers, you get my old safety director used to call them steering wheel holders. And that's we ain't hiring just a bunch of steering wheel holders. Hell no, it can't bet. You know, he was an old school guy. Like, he was like a state marshal at one point, highway patrol. Then he was a driver. He did overhaul, like over-dimensional loads and everything. So like, he couldn't stand the fact that somebody just wanted to get in a truck and drive across the country with a drive in, get unloaded, drive back, drive it like a steering wheel holder to him. You know, he can't parallel park that thing down downtown Pittsburgh, 45,000 pounds of steel on the back. Can't see over the headache rack. You know, it was one of those guys. But it does make a big difference because it's guys like that, though, that have the pride too. I mean, they kind of have a pride in what they do. Flatbed drivers, you know, you get them talking about dry van guys, right? Local drivers, guys that get to know the routes, get to know the people, how things are loaded and whatnot. But, you know, Will, that kind of transitions me out. I want you to talk about a little bit about this, and you know as well as I do that, you know, especially when you're prospecting, or even when you have an existing customer with multiple plants and you find there's a private fleet, if you understand how it kind of all works, you know that private fleet's there for a reason. And Tony, you can attest to this. They got to push that product. I mean, they're going all day long, right? So they've got a demand, they've got to hit, and they're close enough, and they're saving money on their transportation here. Where are they spending it, and where's the opportunity for over the road, or for anybody else, you know, brokers or even carrier wise?
Yeah, so I mean, anytime I run into a private fleet or have the opportunity to work through that, I am used to typically trying to understand what that fleet does and seeing if we can provide value to them before I'm really hard selling to figure out what I can do to move their freight. Because in almost every instance where I provided value to a fleet, I've ended up being able to service their freight because they either needed backhauls or they needed something specific that they weren't running. So they go and deliver, right? Maybe they don't have any customers or they don't have any freight to pick up and take back. That's always my approach, to find a way to understand what can I do to help them? Are there other customers that I work with that might overlap with their network? And throughout those conversations, maybe we don't hit a home run, but they understand that this should be a two-way street. At least that's the way I'm approaching it. And typically it ends up in them saying, oh, well, you know what? I do have this load on Thursday that my fleet doesn't take. Like they don't take all of it, right? There's always something, or getting an understanding of, okay, it's the fleet, but is it a local fleet, right? Do they stay within 300 miles? Because I've done my research and I know you've got customers that are across country. So I know unless you have a massive fleet or you contract to a regional carrier in that area, that there is someone that's hauling that freight. So I think going in and understanding, okay, that's what I'm going to hear. How do I help them before I try to get their business, typically yields a much higher result. And then I've got two services that I'm at. I'm loading their trucks and I'm servicing their freight. So there's a lot more to it, but it's such a common objection or a common scenario that you run into. And it makes a lot of sense for scenarios like what Tony and his team works through.
So I was trying to put it on a T for you on there, and that's.
Oh, did I miss it? He tried to lay it out for T and I missed it.
You missed what I was putting up, but you went another direction that I liked, because I wasn't going to put that together. That's very, very true. That's a great point. To provide value or help them out before you're even trying to get their business, really, right? You're not necessarily wanting their freight. You're just wanting to get their drivers' loads back, right? And then that's when you can build a relationship. So that's a great point. What I was trying to get at, maybe I didn't explain it well, but was if you got a local fleet and you're pushing product out, and you are, and that product that's being pushed out is dependent on production,
yep,
then you have got to have product to manufacture, which means the freight coming from your suppliers is that much more important. Your inbound is that much more important. And because you're not spending a ton of money on outbound logistics, you're willing to spend more money on inbound logistics, cover the transportation to make sure that supplier's freight gets to you so you can manufacture, push it out on your private fleet. Am I wrong, Tony?
You're not wrong.
So there's opportunity there because they've got suppliers, right? And you can work that inbound. And that's one big thing I try to work with my salespeople on is, and again, it's about bringing value. It's not about coming in and saying, who are your suppliers? All right, get on Google and figure it out, right? What it is saying, hey, where can I bring value? Like what Will said, where can I help, right? Right now, I know for a fact that I need that freight from the supplier. And when that supplier can't find trucks for it, or maybe not have a truck for it, they're reaching out to me to help find a truck for it, right? Or maybe I just handle it all anyways.
Let me tell you a secret. Suppliers are not in the freight business.
So when you call somebody on the other end, right, and they say customer routed, now you got the other way, right? It's it's both sides. So if you can find a way then to bring that value and say, hey, listen, the network that those are coming, I can help. Listen, I got a great expedite team. I got a great this, I got a great that, to make sure you guys have the product when you need it. All right. And where are your gaps? What plants or suppliers are you feeling as though are super important, but you're feeling the ball's getting dropped a little bit more there, right? And you can come in and kind of fill some of those gaps. And you're probably going to start small, because in a process like that, things are probably already humming and pretty good, right? And so just stopping it all and redoing it's probably not going to be a big thing. But filling some gaps, getting it going and changing as you go to get in there with some value. And so I found that works really well. You can make relationships with some of these suppliers, some of these plants, and like you can access them. I mean, they're supplying, who you're working with anyways. And again, then now you're open up to opportunities like what Will said. Hey, I do actually, on Thursday, I got these big foam rolls, that got to go back out to, Idaho or Utah, whatever. The things are going to happen. They're going to pop up like that. So you just get yourself in the mix. And when you're in the mix, then you got your ear to the ground, you're trying to provide value, and opportunities pop up. I think that's the biggest thing to understand about it.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard we have a private fleet, we don't have any freight, and then opportunities come up. Like it just, Tony's like, I'm like, yeah, like I know there's opportunity, there always is. And so it's understanding how you figure out a way to provide something that's different. I was on a call today, and not a private fleet play, but these people are being solicited 24/7 all day. So if your only ask is, do you have freight, or what is there available that I can help with? That's not that valuable, right? Like click, hang up, I'm out. There's not that much that you brought to me. So finding a way to dig in and use examples to be more relevant. Like you said, hey, maybe I can help with your inbound, or maybe I can help with some of your more time sensitive shipments, something that you need that's critical. You just have to find ways to peel those layers back to figure it out.
And another good way to do it too is to, again, usually people that work with a private fleet are pretty proud of it. Like Tony's proud of his fleet, man. Like he know, like he likes that, you know. Carly every day goes home thinking, hey man, I'm taking care of this fleet, right? I'm on top of things, like she said, you know, value in drivers. Like there's a little bit more of a pride there. And so when you actually want to learn about something like that, because not everybody that's a carrier or broker knows a lot about private fleets. They're more than willing to talk to you about it most of the time. With Tony, and I'll just come out and say this now. I mean, where Tony was before, I didn't know a ton about him, and he's 45 to an hour north of me. And I said, hey, can I come up and see the plant? He told me he's got a private fleet, doesn't have any freight, you know. And at that time, we were kind of friends, just doing. I mean, I wasn't even going to ask him at that point, but you know, we talked, right? So, but I came up there, right? He walked me around the plant. He showed me, you know, he's like, well, you know, the only thing you could do is move this sawdust that we're sucking out of the factory, putting into this old fucking JB Hunt trailer. You move that down the road if you want to. And I'm like, But we had great conversation, Johan. We're in there. We're looking at the production floor. We're looking at his parking. He added an awning because, you know, when it rained, it was blowing, you know, the forklift drivers didn't like it, the drivers didn't like it. He added like electrical outlets for drivers when they're staying overnight, his guys, you know, and it gets you thinking, right? Because he starts kind of telling you what his difficulties are, what he's kind of struggling with, you know, and I'm saying, hey, what if I just dropped a couple of my trailers up here? I mean, you can run them. And if you ever need help, I can send a guy in. You know, at that time I was moving assets too. And so, you know, that didn't ever come to fruition, but it just brought up a good discussion and made him understand that I was trying to learn and try to bring some value wherever I could. Hell, I even came up with a bonus structure for your employees on the floor. Remember that? And you're like, I can't get on side. You had an incentive structure, Tony, and they were coming from here to here, and you're like, but those are discussions that you're having. You're starting to get to know the person, and they're understanding that, hey, you may know what you're talking about, and that, hey, this guy might be able to bring me some value. He's not sitting here asking me for freight. He's asking me questions about this, about my operation. Where could I maybe have him fit in that?
Yeah, that's big, because then you start realizing that you're looking for the interest of the organization, which is where I have to answer, always have to answer, instead of how can I get a slice of your freight spend. That's everybody's approach. How can I get a slice of that spend? You guys are a huge company. How do I get a piece of that action? I can see it a mile away. I can almost see it before you hit send in the DMs tomorrow morning.
Hey, so
I'm going to chime in on there, Tony, if you don't mind.
Tony's DMs, man.
Every Friday.
So part too, like I get a lot of those DMs too, and so maybe this is just helping you guys out some. So we do 3PL some of our stuff. So we're not only strictly private fleet. So we have a little bit of everything. But I get these messages and I'm like, I have no clue, like the lingo y'all use and stuff. So for me, I'm in the DOT world, which is very formalized verbiage, right? Like it's very structured. You got to write these long essays to submit. And then you guys have your slang that I don't know what that means and what that price is. I have no idea. So to your point, I mean, I think when you're approaching each other, it's really, and I do this in my DOT world, it's easy to use those, like that verbiage because you're so used to in the day to day, but I have no clue what those DMs mean. So I'm just like, sorry. Like, I don't know how to answer this because I don't even know what that means.
And so but that's a great point. And that's it. And at the end of the day, if you're really interested in becoming, now, if you do good enough research on the company, right? I mean, if you're just chasing down everybody and everything within a company, you don't even know exactly what they do. That's one thing. One thing I always try to do is like really kind of target, if I'm prospecting, you know, I'm not calling on 100 leads. I've got one or two shippers I know that like we could really fit there, right? It could really fit for both of us. And you can talk to, you know, safety. You can talk to, you know, compliance. You can talk to purchasers, right? You can talk to salespeople. You know, you really look at salespeople. I've had a little bit of success in talking with them, and most of those calls I got to them on accident, right? But I started talking to them. You know, they said, "Oh, actually, I'm in sales," and you know, I know how that works because I've been out to. We've got a shipper here in Fort Wayne area that I've been out to, and I still remember this. So I remember that we saved a couple of shipments for them, and they were dying, and the customer was like, "Oh yeah, they're gonna have to work second shift or whatever. Just get in there. You know, we're just overloaded." I'm like, "All right, you know what? They're actually on my way home. I'm gonna bring pizza and pop out to them,
Oh yeah.
And so I did, and I got out there. And I'm like, hey, I'm with Circle. I recovered those shipments, for you or whatever. He's like, God dang it, I wish you wouldn't have. And I'm like, what? And so, you got people on the dock that are thinking totally different than what what the reps are that I'm talking to are thinking, right? Because they're thinking about what the customer wants. Well, these guys are thinking about the fact. So I start talking to him, and he goes, well, I'll take the pizza though. It's all right. So, but I'm talking to him, and he's like, well, it's unbelievable. I mean, our salespeople are promising product by X time, and we can't keep up. We're 10 shipments behind. Like I don't have the staff, I don't have the time. We're all dying. And these customers, these salespeople are promising them freight by X amount of time. And that's what we got to go through. So they don't understand how it works down here. We can't push out that much product. They're all over us, yelling at us because we haven't moved it yet because their customers pissed now. Right. And so right there. There is a disconnect, right, between two levels at a company where you can maybe come in and solve some problems. Right. You can maybe come in and say, hey, listen, I'll get you 3 drop trailers over here. So you can maybe get maybe a little extra crew, whatever it is, start loading, at least staging some freight, get it off the dock, move what's in priority. Let me get with your sales guy. Let's look at what the priority is and what we can actually promise transit time wise and update the customer ahead of time rather than in a day late and then being upset. And let's see how we maybe get on the same page here with the flow. Right. And so talking to different people, but talking about what they do, not what you do, is the biggest thing.
There's so much value. I mean, I can only imagine how many emails you probably get, Carly, and you're like, I'm not the freight person, so like, thanks. But if you find an opportunity where you can build a relationship with someone, she works for the company that I'm trying to get in contact with, right? So even if she doesn't work with the freight in general, she still knows more about the inner workings of that business than I ever will because I don't work there. So having the opportunity to build and have an internal advocate, I might build a good relationship with her. And she says, actually, I know the person who's responsible for it, and her forward on from her inbox to that person makes it easier, or that person is now more receptive to respond to me because I have an internal sponsor. And there's so many areas that you can go. It doesn't always have to be the right contact. But if my approach is to throw a bunch of freight lingo at you and you're like, I'm good, like I don't know anything about that, that's not helpful. There's no way for me to be able to continue that conversation. So it's interesting to hear that, because I bet if those approaches were done properly, you'd probably be receptive to at least giving some information that might help that person.
And Carly, you seem like one that just from knowing you for just the last 20 minutes, you seem like somebody that would want somebody to like them, right? You get into an organization and wants to get along with people, like you said, right? Have a flow between departments and things like that, right? And so if you look at it from that standpoint too, like what Will said, you get in, you start having a conversation with them and say, if you're specific on why you're even wanting to do business with that person, you can even just come out and say, hey, yeah, Carly, start talking to her a little bit and just be like, hey, the only reason I even am reaching out is because I got drivers in the area all the time. I got a lot of availability. I could go after other customers, wherever, but you get the network you guys are in right where you're at would really help us. And I know right now a lot of people are like struggling. There's a lot of shippers struggling to find capacity in trailers, and I could provide those, and it would help connect the dots to my Ford account or to my what other freight I have. And you start having that conversation. Now Carly's thinking, wow, that I have heard the guys over in shipping or the guys over in operations talk about how, they're having a little bit of struggle. Maybe I'll just introduce them at least, and that'll look good on my part, right? It'll look like I'm trying to help, right? Trying to bring together, because TJ actually expressed what his specific intentions were and what his value could be, and I could be the one to deliver that, right? And so that's kind of how you get that connection going. And now you're getting a referral from somebody within the company like Carly, who probably everybody already likes, a little more of a warmer introduction. And again, the biggest thing you got to understand with things like this is it takes time. Like you just got to get in, take a shipment once every 3 weeks, whatever it is, and let them know that that's okay. Because the more you're around and the more projects pop up and the more they change processes, what Carlos said earlier, everything's changing all the time. You're there. You're right there in front of them. Opportunities pop up and you can take advantage of them.
Yeah, not to mention, with a company that's like Lippert, I mean, I don't know, I don't know the exact number, 8 acquisitions last year. I mean, just ballparking. So we're constantly growing, acquiring new businesses with totally different operations. So, I mean, it's ever evolving. So I think to your point, that's that's exactly spot on. You know, we could acquire a company that needs to move freight. Maybe they don't have any drivers when we acquire them. So there's always an avenue there. And I think one of the other big ones is too for you guys is liability. And maybe that's just my safety mindset speaking. But I mean, if you pitch liability and especially to companies that don't have a solid safety and compliance team in place, I mean, it's a huge liability for them if their trucks, you know, in a big accident. So, I mean, taking that away a little bit too, or a little bit less exposure on it anyways, is always a good pitch. But yeah, I think that's spot on.
And Will, what do you run into that liability wise when you're working with some of your customers when it comes to the value that you guys can bring? I mean, I see it here a little bit brokerage wise.
So yeah, a lot of it is mostly around the contract. To be, I guess, the most honest, we come into situations where we read contracts and you're trying to understand where the liability is going to fall in the event that something occurs. And so that's a lot of where those conversations happen. But we do have a very strong comprehensive insurance coverage that is a benefit when we're working with a handful of different shippers. So we have set ourselves up to be able to cover high value shipments, to have the coverage to be able to do some things that some other brokers aren't able to. And depending on the complexity of the sale, it's something that we bring up because we haul freight that others wouldn't because they don't have the coverage. And so that is certainly a benefit if you can pitch it the right way.
Yeah. And you can really sell your own compliance department. You know, at that point.
Oh yeah, dude, I had
this is how stringent we are. This is the better carriers, what we follow through. And you're talking to a fleet, a guy that has a fleet that doesn't have a Carly, right? Yeah. And now all of a sudden the discussion changes.
You know what's interesting? A lot of customers are apprehensive to use brokers because they don't want to have to deal with the in between in the event that there is a claim or there's something like that. So they're like, yeah, I'm going to have your carrier calling me, or they're going to try to get paid, or what do I need to do to get this claim resolved? And I had a presentation, it was a year ago, and it's still relevant because every once in a while that objection will come up. It'll be like one of my new reps, and I'm like, oh, I got something, right? Because it happens, and people are not sure how you handle that. They don't want to get blown up by hundreds of different carriers that they never worked with directly. So that is a benefit if you know how to handle that properly.
Think about that as a broker. I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but just objection wise. A lot of times the apprehensiveness to set up a broker is claims, right? Having a third party dealing with claims, right? Dealing with even the billing. So yep. You look at Mike Nemi always talks about he'll reach out to like the billing department, people like that, purchasers as well. So if you're talking like, hey, when you're trying to bring value, you come in and say, I've got X amount of trucks, I got X amount of carriers, I can save you 20%, blah blah blah. Who gives a shit? Everybody has that. Everybody can do that, right now. I mean, everybody's got the tech. But what's your billing process like? How efficient is that? You know what I mean? How on top are you? How automated is it? Are you providing week over week analysis, right? Month over month on your truck spend? How are your invoices? How are your invoices being sent? Are they one at a time? Is it clunky? Are you faxing? What is your process that makes everybody else's job easier? Whether it's compliance, whether it's billing, whether it's tracking, visibility, because they can provide that to their customer. I mean, what is it that you bring to the table that is outside of the box that can touch everybody that's in supply chain? A purchaser, a transportation safety manager, a fleet operator, a Tony Darnell who knows what the guy does everything. How can you bring it here or there? That opens up so many more opportunities than just a blanket. Hi, I'm a 3PL. I'm a broker. I want to move the freight.
There's tons of opportunity. I mean, when I was at the steel company, we had, 15, 18 trucks, and we were running it all the time, even regional. And we had 4 or 5 that were road guys, and truck we're cranking it out. My internet's unstable. Always.
What's the show, man? What's the show? And it's always that first phrase that pops back in. This time it was cranking it out, but there's always some great phrase that just pops in when he comes on. I love it.
Yeah, I know it. Anyway, there's always those loads that go to that obscure area that somebody is aching to get to, that we just have no interest in paying our guy to drive home from empty, and we don't want to haul freight as a private carrier, because all of the stuff that we'd have to hire a car lead just to make sure that to go from private fleet to commercial carrier is a huge step, and there's all these other things that you have to do, and that's her world, man. I don't want to do any of that. But yeah, there's always opportunity at somebody that has a private fleet, because there's always opportunity at their customers where they don't go.
What's the biggest thing there too is you guys don't have e-logs, do you?
No, we don't have anything. They're hourly. They were within 100 air miles, 150 air miles.
Hourly, they don't have e-logs. What's the rule on
My guys,
distance? What's the rule on distance, Carly?
150 air miles.
Yeah.
So there you go. How many shipments do you have that go over 150 miles? You only have a private fleet, but you've got 3 shipments a week that go over 150 miles. How's that work? Well, actually, TQL, I got a guy.
I got a guy.
You know what I mean? So that's one big thing. Because like he said, as soon as you go, anything bigger, you got to get some of that stuff. I mean, that's just what's required. Especially if you're paying somebody hourly, you're not gonna send them to California and back. Hell no. Get them on the clock. But so I think it came down to the fact that, hey, Tony's got freight. Reach out to him. Really give him a no. I think what the main thing is that there's opportunity everywhere. Don't bug Tony. Don't waste your time. Be smart. Okay. Don't bug Carly. Don't waste your time. Be smart. But get to know their situation and how they work and what they do. And you don't got to do it by just calling Tony and asking him. Figure out what his role is. Figure out, watch the show, watch this, figure out those things, learn, right? Learn about the ins and outs of the supply chain. Find somebody that that works in it and start talking to them about it, and don't even try to solicit their freight. Utilize them literally as a resource to learn. Don't try to solicit their freight at all. In all honesty, probably down the road, they'll end up wanting to use you, maybe. But at the end of the day, you've got free knowledge right there that you can gain to then turn and go use on other things, right? In other situations. And you develop a friend, you develop a network, right? That guy may know another guy. What was cool was at that time I went up and met with Tony. We looked at all this stuff. I knew there wasn't much there. Me and Tony were already friends, so it was great. We're gonna go get a wet, dry burrito from the old Mexican place up there, Hacienda. So I'm following him in his minivan, and we're driving down the road, and listen to this. So when you become kind of friends with somebody and they know that they can't provide something to you, but you drove up to hang out with them, right? And learn, they feel like they kind of owe you something, right? Especially because I'm paying for his burrito.
That $7 burrito is something, man.
So I didn't get a discount for no sauce on it either. What the hell's that about? But so when they feel that way, I'm driving behind him and he's going, hey, he calls me. I'm like right behind him, like, what? Hello? He's like, hey, this right here. See this place over here? Get a hold of this guy. His name is Richard. They got a ton of freight out here. This one up here, all these trucks parked along the back. I know for a fact they're moving probably 15 loads a day out of there. And so I thought that was I never had anybody do that for me before. Like literally telling me like the name of the guy that runs this plant, what this plant does. That, hey, where I worked before, I know there's freight that runs out of there. And I know that it's this carrier, and this carrier, this broker. I mean, he was trying to provide, give me something back because there was no pressure. It was all just, hey, let's help each other out. Let's bring each other value. If you can get on that basis with that relationship, it goes so much farther than what you think. It just takes patience and a little bit more of a career mindset than a job mindset. long-term, long game.
And now TJ's going to retire and I'm still slaving away.
Yeah, I'll come work for you, Tony. I'll come drive day cab.
You get a CDL, man. I don't know, but your work ethic is a little bit light.
We get I'm getting my 1986 K400 cab over, flat nose truck.
Flat nose. It's for Pete's sake, dude. Stop talking about truck lingo.
You don't know what a cab over is, Tony?
I am very familiar with a cab over. It's not a short nose. On the back of that
sucker. A big old RV. Traveling the world. Did we lose him?
My internet's going to get really unstable here in a minute.
Okay. What time we got?
No, my internet's going to get really unstable here in a minute.
we got 5 minutes, 6:10.
So anyway, so that's what we're talking about. Just the value, the conversations, the connections, who you know, how you know them, and you're kind of selling it gives you a chance to sell yourself. Because at the end of the day, a lot of what people want to do, and the reason why face-to-face works well, the reason why social media works well and networking works well is because people want to do business with somebody they want to do business with. Maybe not necessarily a company they want to do business with, or the name of a company. It's somebody that they like, somebody that they can relate to, somebody they trust, and building that relationship and building those conversations gives them a chance to get to know you, right? And they can tell you right off the bat if you're a creep or if you're cool.
I tell people all the time, I hated TQL, but the best broker I ever worked with was a guy who answered my phone and took care of everything for me. And he was a TQL guy, and he's awesome. He's still awesome. He's in a roof. He does roof replacements and repairs and stuff in Cincinnati now, and he's selling that service, and he's killing it in the roofing business now. Good for him. He's still out there killing it, man. I love the guy.
Different business models. I say it all the time. Me and Will, our companies are in the phase of growth in which we're trying to do it a way in which we keep our culture as we grow, right? As we scale, we don't lose that culture, right? Some companies in every industry, certain companies have to do it. There's always going to be them big giants that happen. They scale out, right? They scale out to the satellite offices. That office has a whole different culture than this office. This office has this division. And I've said it about Landstar, about TQL. I know some damn good TQL reps that, hell, I went to Ball State with, would have been, well, not 10 years ago, 12 years ago now, and they're still there. And they came right out of college there, and they're just studs. I mean, they're just good people. And you've got to find those individuals, right? And they know it. They know. I mean, they're not out flaunting, TQL. They've got customers. They're based on that relationship as well. They're not trying to. They know that there's a bad rap for this and that, and they're not out here trying to defend it because they're selling themselves. They're talking about what they do, not about anything else. And so that's the biggest thing there.
Hey, I don't know if Jason's ever going to monetize this, but I'm telling you right now, he does not. I mean, he does podcasts and interviews and stuff all the time. We had a pork producer last week. We had a pork producer in our plant asking us how they can make their culture modeled after how we've done ours. I mean,
it's not that good. That's all you do is brag about your culture, Tony.
It is that good. You just don't realize it. If you guys are trying to scale and get on my level, bro.
So I'm sitting there telling Will he's trying to be like his company's trying to be like mine. Just joking, by the way. And now you're telling us that both me and Will's companies have to be like yours.
You do.
We're behind the times, Will. Although
I'm just saying there's opportunity at a place that has done it, and there are people in line to see how we did it.
They're also a $1 billion company or more, and we're not. So got that going for them. Difference.
But
Sure, I'm down to learn.
You had the right culture.
Touche. But well, it looks like it started with the old lady and the old man. They're on it LinkedIn. I saw. See that post, Carly?
What's that?
The founders. Kevin, is it who's the Lippert founders? Mr. and Mrs.
Oh, okay, yeah. I saw their anniversary.
Yeah, they were on LinkedIn there.
Yep. Tony's not wrong. We have an awesome culture, and
I hear about it every day. He calls me all excited.
It's awesome.
He's at some work function. He calls me 7:30. We got this meeting. Guess what we're gonna call our drivers now? And this is why. Think about this. What's your culture like? This is what our culture's like. You suck, TJ. That's basically what it is. Isn't it?
Fantastic.
You know what's cool though? I love it. I mean, as a manager, as a top leader at a company, Will, too. It's like sometimes you lose, not hope, but like you start to doubt like how much influence you can have on somebody to really get them to buy in. When you're in there day to day and you've got like a pod or something, like it's different. But like, how do I, do people really actually get bought in, or do they just say it? When you've got somebody like Tony calling me, who Jason doesn't know that he's doing that, but he's calling me, he's all excited. It kind of gives you like, hey, people, get jacked up about their work culture, and that's a good thing. So, good company. We've had like 5 or 6 people from there on this podcast before because they're always willing to come on. They don't care, and they do a great job and know a lot. So, Carly, I honestly really appreciate you being on. We've talked about it and hinted about the private fleet and Tony having freight and this and that for a long time. We've kind of dabbled in a little bit. Got Will a little frustrated from time to time with Tony, but coming in and really diving into it and kind of peeling back the layers, I think is key for a lot of people. A lot of people learn a lot from that, I think.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to have been on this. So anytime you want me back to dive into any of that stuff, let me know. So we're not all private fleet though, Tony.
I am. No, we have we need to do a follow up with the ladies in leadership thing that we did before. That went by like a snap of the finger, and there was so much more out there. And Nicole and Sharon, Christy, and all the
Jay Dixon and
right.
Sarah and Megan and all those guys.
Yeah, we got it. We got to do that again, and she'll have to get on there for that for sure, because it's obvious.
Women in this industry, man, I don't know. It's something different.
It is.
That's the thing. Hell, I've promoted more women than I have men. It seems like, I mean, men. I don't know. I'm not gonna go into that, but I don't want to offend any men. But no, I'm just saying. I mean, like it's crazy, man. The women you find in this industry, it's like they're on it. You know what I mean? Yep. It's like maternal instinct times 3. Plus this skill, plus that skill. And I think it's just all your mentality, how you approach it. A lot of people want to get in, just kind of come in, slang freight, make money real quick, do it the wrong way. But there's always the right way to do it, and the right person should always get that chance. So it's exciting to see that stuff.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you back eventually when we circle back on the women in logistics thing that we were doing before.
So
awesome.
Since Tony lives in Northern Goshen, you up in Granger, Carly?
I'm pretty close. I'm in Mishawaka.
I know the ecosystem up there. I know where the Roost Chris is. Trust me.
Yeah, no, you don't. I've never been there. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I was gonna say Tony's never been up there and got the tomahawk.
Come on, Will.
I gotta come over. We go
something.
Everybody meet up in the Midwest, have a good time.
Craig Riggs is coming through.
When?
His RV. I was supposed to tell you. Sorry, Tony. Late July. He wants to meet because he's gonna be coming he's becoming the toll road. So we can all meet there. Big Alex Brown is coming up late July. So we can all get over the hacienda, get ourselves a wet dry.
Alex was here last week.
A couple tall boys.
Margaritas at the hacienda.
Heck
yes. Yeah. See, we don't have any more in Fort Wayne, Carly. That's why when I got up there, I had to go there. There's one in Warsaw, I think, but we're not. We'll save the hacienda topic for another show.
Yep.
Is that good?
Large ground beef wet burrito, no enchilada sauce.
He gets a wet burrito with no enchilada sauce. Will
it's a dry burrito.
It's a dry burrito. God, I'm so frustrated.
Stop criticizing my burrito.
All right, guys. Hey, listen, Carly, thanks so much for being on. Obviously, Will always bring good insight. Tony always a good time. We're gonna have a pretty cool show. I think we're gonna take next week off, 4th of July week. I think we did that last year as well. And then the week after that, I think we come up on our year anniversary. Tony, where are you taking me?
Holy smokes! Are you kidding me?
Congrats.
We've only had like 3 episodes.
You taking me for a tomahawk up there in Granger or what?
Yep, we'll send Will the bill.
But no, that
Will, you gotta meet us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on down.
I'm with it.
Jump on the South Shore.
I got some stuff
I'll
already
pick you up.
boys, so I'll get with you and we'll roll out because that anniversary show is gonna be pretty sweet.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I saw some plans in the background there. I got a couple of emails.
Oh, did you get the one from NBC? oh, sorry. See you guys.
Catch y'all later.